Oh, that's the capital.
Okay, Rich, all set.
We're good to go. All righty. Thank you, Sharon. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. And this is a regular board meeting of the Waterville Valley Select Board. I am Rich Rita, the chair. With me present today is Bob Freeze, member, and joining us via Zoom is Margaret Turner, vice chair. So we have a quorum. Is anybody here for privilege of the floor? Nope, we're on the agenda for the item. I think Jean and Patty, you're here. Okay. Why don't we go through approval of the minutes next? And again, thank you so much, Sharon and Steve, your tremendous work to get through all the ones we were behind. Bob or Margaret, anything
Yeah, I'll move
further?
that we accept them as modified.
I had one change on one of them. Let me just get my notes. I think you guys just missed a change I made on the November 9th. Right, November 9th, 2022, the joint meeting. I had made a minor, well, actually, it was a substantive change. Let me just repeat it to you. If you could make that change, that would be great. I know I have it here. Yes, so the line 122 and into line 123. Sentence begins, Rich. So Rich concludes by saying that everybody understood and wanted ... What that really should say is Rich concludes by saying that he wanted to make sure that everybody understood. It's not that I understood, but he wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the preschool and summer programs could be in jeopardy next year. And I would add at the back end of that, due to race and financial difficulties. The understood is in the wrong place, basically.
Got it. We'll make the adjustment.
Okay, and with that adjustment,
So can we
Yeah.
just highlight, just for the record, that
Mhm.
we're talking about the September 7th special meeting, September 14th regular meeting, September 21st special meeting, September 26th special meeting, September 28th regular meeting, October 12th regular meeting, October 19th special meeting, November 9th regular meeting, the November 9th joint meeting with the school board, and the November 16th special meeting, and finally the November 23rd regular meeting. So those are the minutes that are being approved right now. And then,
I did send out the 27th.
Seven.
yeah, do you want to include that?
I had no changes on the 20th. Bob,
And he
you
didn't either.
Margaret, you okay with adding? Okay, add the 27th then.
October 27th regular meeting to the list. So this catches us up. We have one set of minutes left. The November 2nd special meeting is still outstanding.
Yes.
And then we had budget discussions last week, which were workshops, but they still need minutes. So we'll work
Right.
on those minutes for the next selectmen's meeting. So
Good, and
that'll catch us all up to date for the
Excellent.
year.
we're looking potentially to hire somebody to be our minutes secretary, if you would, starting next year, so we don't get so far behind because of the press of business that has been quite pressing in 2022. So we have a motion. I will second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That takes care of all those minutes. Moving on to financial update.
Steve, we've included the updated revenue and expenditure reports. The recreation department is basically collected for the year with a couple of weeks left. over the holidays, so that's good. 95% collected in parks. We still have not, obviously, we've got to get to the end of this month and then we'll take meter readings. And during the month of January, we'll prepare bills for water, wastewater and quarterly trash fees. I expect that all those numbers that are shown as outstanding will be collected.
This is the 168,900.
No, there's 77,000 in water, the
Right.
102 in wastewater and 79,000 in quarterly.
Okay,
So you're saying even though we bill them in January there for the period?
Yeah, they will be counted as
Right.
revenue in this year.
so the bottom line is that 90% number,
Oh, 168,000, we will
clear
easily
that.
clear that.
So our revenue
So-
projections for 2022 were close, but actually a little better than we
And,
thought.
and if you notice, that also saves us the 121,000 number here for
The fund,
fund balance
balance.
use. So that includes not collecting that.
Right.
So we'll be able to leave that basically in fund
Excellent.
balance. So that's
every
that's a
dollar
good
will
thing.
help.
every dollar helps.
Great. And on the, I'm sorry, on the expenditure side, everything seems to be on track. I don't have anything.
I'm
Go
good.
ahead. Good. Margaret, anything?
Yeah, how about fire? Fire was at 122% expense.
Yes, you're correct. Chief, if you'd like to address that question.
That may have been from the grant.
Is that the?
Oh, the lack
grant
of
expenditure?
not getting the grant or,
It's, no, between the revenues and the expenditures taken in that, but. Without looking at it, I don't have anything, I don't have.
okay. But we could check on it, just,
The Gopher grant,
Yeah,
a lot of, all the expenses associated with that Gopher grant fell in that line.
Right, except we accepted the money for that purpose. So it's a paperwork drill at the end of the year as far as there's an offsetting revenue for that overage. So it will clear.
will wash out. Yes,
It will
it's
wash
shown a negative
Because-
42.6.
Because you did not put it in the grant line for revenues as well?
It's in there.
It's in there.
Yeah,
Okay,
It's
all right.
part of that 88,756.
Okay.
Okay. All right, very good.
But another component adding to the increase in the fire line market was labor, part-time wages were over expended. By about 14%. Due to all the training.
Okay. Anything further, Margaret?
That's all.
All righty. Okay, so if there's nothing further on the financials, let's go ahead and move to department head reports and David, why don't we go ahead and start with you and your quiet weekend, I understand.
quiet weekend, well, the start of the winter season. I can, elaborate on some of those. We assisted in Thornton with a chimney fire on 49, utilized the tower. I'll put that fire out with them. Had a DWI crash near the athletic club over the weekend. That involved, we were out of town, with the person that knew at the hospital. And relied on mutual aid to come up and assist us to finish putting the fire out.
Did it have flared up again?
It
Is
had
that what
flared up
happened?
again. Yeah, there was a rekindle on there. It wasn't anything big. It was just rekindle on the portion, and Hampton Thornton came up and while we were out of town and helped with that.
Right,
that.
you were at the hospital with the guy who was driving,
Yes.
put it in vernacular, who
Yeah.
had some injuries.
Yeah.
And then you had to deal with the legal aspect of it.
Yeah.
i.e. the arrest and.
Yeah.
Bail and all
Yeah.
of that and there's a mutual, could you talk a little bit about the mutual
So
Aid
if we're
partner.
out of town, we're part of the mutual aid system, so we rely on Campton Thornton. Plymouth. Holding us a lot of times for if we're tied up, one emergency, if we've got. Two people on, being at 2 o'clock in the morning, and having another person out, out of work. Yeah, one medical call will take us out of service. So I like to have it light where we only allow one emergency at a time, but this was a case where it was 3 emergencies at the same time, so. We do the best that we can, we rely on mutual aid, and that's what mutual aid is exactly for, is filling in those gaps. Just like the very next day where we were down in Thornton where they needed extra hands, and some equipment to help. And we were there helping them, so, it's not a new concept, it's just when you're not used to seeing it in action all the time, because a lot of times we can handle a lot of our own emergencies, but when we can't, that's the system that's in place to do that.
Bob or Margaret, any?
Is it appropriate to tell us any more about the accident? Was it a local guy or? Tourist?
No, it wasn't a tourist, he was a person that lived in the local area. So not specifically to Waterville Valley.
I noticed, and this may be actually a question for Public Works, but I saw that they have made repairs to the
Yeah.
guardrail, but it's pushed back. Is that just
There were-
temporary for the
there-
winter?
Yeah, there were 6 posts that were taken out during the accident. So they've shortened up the guardrail,
Right,
so that they can use it, because it does, in a lot of cases, provide the guide for the plow.
right.
So they had to put it back as much as they could, but there's no way to replace those 6 posts until the spring. So
Okay.
we'll address that in the spring. But they have gotten the guardrail back, so it's usable.
And they're tracking the cost.
And we're tracking the cost
Right,
of
the-
all of the repairs.
And
Yeah.
that will go in as restitution. Or whether it's insurance or through the court to
Okay.
recover the cost for those repairs.
I'm sorry, I'm not up to date. Where were the guardrails taken out?
Right by the athletic center, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Do you have something then, Bob?
No.
Anything else from public safety?
No, just wrapping up a bunch of follow-up inspections on many of our commercial properties. And just have a few outstanding that are ready to go, but new system's actually working out really well for us as far as keeping track and keeping things in order for us.
Great.
We were up to, as I told Mark earlier in the week, 292 inspections since September that we've done. So,
How does that compare? Have you had a chance to
well, because
catch your
now
breath
that-
and see how it compares to past years?
Well, I don't, because we didn't have a system to compare.
Ah,
to.
okay,
So
Okay.
it's actually.
fair enough.
It's actually quite shocking. I was surprised that we were up to that. We were up that high. But. We'll just roll with it and
Okay,
do what needs to get done.
anything
And
else?
that's all else I have.
Let me- Yeah, I'm gonna just shift over to, since we're on public safety,
That's good.
Chief Pay. You always say everything is good, and then you drop something on us.
No, really good. Dave pretty much summed that up. We'll, through prosecution, we'll charge him accordingly with any crimes and stuff, but that's our 3rd DWI accident in 3 months. So, calls like that are increasing, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Hockey this weekend was one of the bigger tournaments. We had, I think, 19 teams, so, a few calls there, but not like last year's.
They've got their own, I think you had mentioned
Yeah,
that
the own security is definitely helping.
is helping great.
We're still getting calls, but not as much, I guess.
Still about noise more than anything else.
Just issues in general. I think it's just a conflicting what's the best way to say it?
Expectation.
Yeah, I think it's expectations, but I think, it's a clashing between, I mean, you have people living that are full-time residents where they're staying. So I think it's trying to.
Right, and they're up here to have fun,
Yeah,
right?
and I think they're thinking it's a hotel and not always realizing that it's full-time residents that are there as well. So there seems to be.
Right.
A little bit of conflict there to some degree. Other than that, it's.
How about
numbers
the-
Again, on the speed board, I'm gonna. Talk to Mark about doing something maybe a little bit different next year as we go forward with the speed boards and do maybe a quarterly type thing. So we're catching seasons versus every month.
Right, this is the traffic count that I'm looking at right now.
So like a January, like just doing it quarterly, so grab every 3
Right.
months, so you're getting winter, spring.
Sure.
You know, so you're getting the seasons here versus monthly.
Sure, I mean, you can see in the number, July, August, September, they were averaging a little over 34,000, and in October. Which was that a full, it dropped to
No, it's only 2
17,000.
weeks.
That was only.
It was it's only
It's
half
only
the
2
month it
weeks.
dropped,
It's
but
only
it still
It was
was,
still averaging 1,000 to.
okay,
Cars a day.
Yeah, that daily number has been consistent the entire year, the daily number on your sheet.
yeah,
So, where it just remains very
I think it's
busy.
about 1,000.
1169.
1169.
So at 1,200, as if,
And that's an average for the full year,
Right,
right,
coming by that board. I think we averaged close to 1,000 to 1,100 cars every single day is an average for a year, coming through that sign. Which is, you really notice it when you sit out there doing.
Right.
too.
Right.
It's-
although we don't know if it's still,
still
they,
not displayed,
they
but-
could be making
Yeah.
that left onto Triple I and going to the
But you know.
Livermore ski resort.
You can go out and grab the numbers at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, there's constant cars.
Yeah.
There's not many people driving there. So between the construction.
I was gonna say a
workers
lot of
and-
construction, yeah,
Just a lot of cars.
great,
on those inspections, I just want to point out, that's 21 inspections a week.
yeah,
Since the beginning of September.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of, because that's just the inspections, that's not all the hose testing,
right, all
maintenance,
the other,
and then the
duties.
calls and everything else, so. That's probably the highest numbers we've been seeing, so.
I know in the past, we've talked about and actually tried to find a part-time
mhm.
code enforcement officer, but had no luck.
You know, we have
in
not
doing
had
so.
any responses to.
Money and John.
So.
Unfortunate,
We're just, a small percentage of that, not just inspections, what happens sometimes consultations, complaints. If
Right.
there's a job site issue or someone makes a complaint, does get entered into that list. Those are a small percentage of that, but for the most part, the majority, I'd say 90% of them are inspections and true inspections.
Any questions, Bob, Margaret? We good on public safety? Okay, Brooke, I see you sitting back there. Why don't you go ahead?
We had a very busy weekend, in the rec department. We had a private rental from little hockey teams for the climbing wall and just our normal, busy Saturday with open gyms, basketball, all that. We also did a rental with Special Olympics, which went really well when they were in town. And we're just looking ahead at our big holiday week. We have many leading up to that. We've gotten Santa to agree to call a couple of children tonight. And,
Nice.
yeah, so.
Me too, me too.
Well, did you sign up?
I didn't sign.
That's half the battle.
You negotiated with the big guy? Come on. It's-
So that's gonna be fun. We also have, a little holiday fun night. We just have tons of stuff leading up to it, Candy Cottages with the school. And then these are all with our local kids, and then, the week between Christmas and New Year's, which is just jam packed with, those kids and more guests and second homeowners, and so we're getting ready for that. And we have lots of hikes and snowshoes
It's gonna be that,
scheduled.
it's coming.
We have a women's cross-country ski group that went out last year, that they're doing it again this year on Fridays. They go out at noon with Tyler. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff slated right now. Just need the snow and the people.
Did I
Both
hear
are
you say
coming.
Special Olympics is back?
This was a couple of weeks ago. It was their training leadership weekend.
Are they coming back in March?
I think so.
Yes,
Mhm.
they are.
Yeah,
They plan on coming back.
and they always utilize our space then, so that's the big one. I think that's it, unless there are any questions.
Any questions, Margaret, Bob?
Nope.
This may be a good, I just have one thing here, maybe a good place to bring it up. I think I had sent everybody that UNH study about increases in population in rural areas. And it talked about also particularly noticeable or notable and a resort and retirement communities. And I tried to get at the full study, but only the abstract is free. So I think it would be good. I think it was like $49 to download the PDF. I think it'd be useful for the town to have just to look at it. And maybe a planning board would be interested in it, and maybe the school will be interested in it. As it looks at increase in population, it's a discussion of the increased population in rural areas. But can't really get much out of the news article, so the town can arrange that. That would be great. Might be worth reading.
Might be
Mhm.
interesting for that housing study.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it would be good data for that. We'll find a way to download that.
it's if you go to the article I sent you,
Yeah.
there's a hot link, and then there's another hot link to a page where you can pays your
Yep.
money and get your report.
Okay,
Great. Alrighty, so that was Rec, Steve, I see you there, next in line.
Yep, which one update from a technological side, if you're all familiar with the GIS map
Mhm.
on our website, we have a quick link to the GIS map of the town. Sharon and I were able to work with our software company Avatar and CAI Graphics, who maintains our maps, to get the full property card of everyone's residence loaded into that system now. So previously we had an abridged version of the property card that didn't specify things like square footage or, layouts of the homes. And what this full property card does provide, some more detailed information around everyone's residence, and they're all updated to reflect the most recent reval that we had this year, and it's working. So if you're interested, have a look. And
well, and then it's also gonna hopefully take some of the administrative requests that we get day to day from appraisers and real estate agents and things like that. Anyone is able to access any of the property record cards.
Is this what Mike Aronson was
Yes,
asking for?
that's what he was
Yeah.
asking for. Yeah, and so it's attached to their files. So you just go on to the map and you can select a property and you'll get the full property record card. So it is quite a significant change, so.
I did let Mike know. I sent him an email. He was good. He was happy about that.
Great.
Outside of that, it's just been a budget season, building that operating budget, working with you folks on that, and
Mhm.
Year-end close.
Okay, any questions on the admin side? Alrighty, Dylan,
Going well. We've had a couple of the equipment replacements. I don't know if you can recall, but the F1 actuated valve that was finally installed. Getting that lined up for an install date was difficult. It was kind of a unique installation that went well, no issues at all. Things operating great. Tomorrow we have a flow monitoring company that's going to be installing meters upstream and downstream of the ski resorts line to get some additional data, because we have no idea currently what we actually receive from them on a daily basis. And that's building up towards construction of a new facility. So that's
Right.
all data that we need to have and know what we're dealing with regardless. And other than that, again, the only other real update would be on the water side, and things are slowly but surely wrapping up there. It's just been delays with a couple pieces of equipment, just final buttoning up really.
Okay.
But everything's
Good.
coming along.
Well, there was a Facebook question that somebody had on
Yeah.
the fence.
Yeah.
Around that
Water treatment plant.
Yeah, the
treatment
new-
plant.
Yeah, I think Ken Wenger's answer was
Spot on.
very good.
Oh, I didn't see the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he just stated that it's protection. Now, all of our water
Right,
treatment processes are in those buildings, and so it's securing those buildings.
yeah, it's a recommendation that's been hanging out there for a number of years from
Yeah. From the.
from DES and the feds, and when we saw, some activity against some power stations, substations and other states, it doesn't take much. So this does at least something to secure our water supply.
For sure, and even during our cybersecurity, which is not related to, physical security.
Right.
Really, but even during our cybersecurity visit from the feds, they said the same exact thing. They couldn't, there's essentially no security around that building.
Right.
Until that fence went up, so.
Good,
And as Ian Cullison from the Nordic Center pointed out, we have rerouted the
Yes.
connector trail, so the cross-country skiing will be essentially the same as it has been, just on the new trail.
So I haven't been by this week. Has the rest of the fence gone up or just a post?
They got it out.
The rest of the fence
Right.
was rolled out today, and the gates were put up as well.
so the only thing, since we're on that project, the only thing left is the demo of the
Demo of well building
one, and
which
then
is on the other side
Right.
of the river,
Small items.
and then some other small.
some small
Yeah.
With the generator in the spring?
And the
generator in the spring,
That's-
the backup generator for the right, for the right.
And that's really the only large item is the backup generator that still hasn't been done, so.
Excellent.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a long project.
Mhm.
Years.
I have one additional update.
Sure,
The school has almost completed their lighting project. So many of the gym, for example, is all sensory. So like if you walk through it, it will turn on in different
section,
waves and sections. We all have dimmers, so the lighting has turned out really nice. They did remove the container and also the other one. I'm not sure if the lift is still there, but it'll all be gone. It is not gone already. I didn't notice it went through today, but anyway, so that's really nice, the end result there. Yeah.
good, thank you for that, yeah. Okay, anything else, Dylan, on wastewater or
Nothing
water?
off the top of my head.
Okay. Did you have anything from Public Works, Mark?
Public Works, no, just the repairs that they did, and they've been doing snow removal operations, and they're getting equipment ready for the weekend with the moderately sized storm coming in, so. Just dealing with a few people out sick, moving their scheduling around to make sure they have their on-call coverage done. I can't think of anything else that he had going on. I think that's,
Okay,
equipment's good.
Yeah.
I don't know why I say that.
Oh,
I know, it's like, stop talking,
rewind the tape and,
rerun the tape
Right.
and
Erase
I
it.
take that back.
okay. So Margaret, Bob, any questions for
Nope.
Public Works?
I do financial, oh, go ahead, Margaret.
No,
No, I have two things. We have an upcoming trustee of the trust fund meeting on Friday. So there are invoices here. That too. There are invoices here for road repairs that were done during this year.
Yeah,
That we currently have in the operating budget, but need to be transferred over and expended actually from the capital reserve accounts.
Okay,
The way that this works is you, as the Board of Selectmen, vote to utilize the CRF money to
Pay
do
the
these
invoice.
repairs, pay these invoices. It's $17,040 under road repairs. And then $10,500 from the trash truck capital reserve, maintenance capital reserve. So if you have a motion, we'll take that motion to expend these monies from the reserve accounts when the trustees meet on Friday.
okay, so I will make a motion to expend $17,040 from the
Road.
capital reserve road fund and $10,500 from the trash truck capital reserve fund to pay the invoices presented to us this afternoon. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Didn't hear you, Margaret, but it looked like you said aye. So for the record, that was a,
She shook her head, yes.
you shook your head, yes,
Yes.
okay. It
So
was
did
unanimous.
Cara. Cara said yes as well.
All right. All right, so if we're done with department head reports, let's move quickly on to calendar review. So we're scheduled for the 28th of December at 3 p.m. here
Yeah.
for our next meeting.
Could I
Let's-
recommend that you just move that to January 4th? To be done with the holidays.
Sure, let me
Is
just-
that possible on your calendars,
Okay.
January 4th? Okay, Margaret says yes.
That's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, yeah.
Yep,
So we'll just delay it 1 week.
yep. The 4th works for me too. Okay, so that
Okay,
meeting will be
so-
held. Our next regular meeting is on 4 January 2023 at 3 p.m. Here in the town hall meeting room. Planning board's on 12 January, 8 a.m. here. And Mark, you're doing a presentation on the wastewater treatment facility and its new website tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Right here in
Here.
this room. Yeah.
Will there be,
I have
Go
a
ahead.
conflict, so I can't be here.
Okay,
will there be a YouTube live feed of that?
we will record it and put it up on YouTube.
So it'll be,
I don't live feed, we should be able to do that.
I had
from
someone
this
ask me
room.
that they couldn't make it, wondering if it was gonna be live
Sure, yeah,
fed.
we'll do it, we'll do a live feed.
Okay. All right. All right, so done with,
Bay, yeah, I talked to Jeff. You got practical.
okay, done with calendar review, it brings us to new business. The first item in new business is upcoming town meeting on, is it 14 March? I'm trying to-
14.
It's a little late
Tuesday.
this year, 2023.
It's as late as it can be.
That's right. So why don't we talk about the location for the polls, our plans for deliberative session, the times for the polls and other assorted administrative details.
I just want to note that we have the town clerk, the moderator, and the
Yes.
supervisor of the checklist.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Hello, folks. Okay,
We were requested by the SAU staff. They're preparing their warrant and other information for the town report. We're in the process of preparing our town warrant. So we need to decide as soon as we can where we're gonna hold it, where we're gonna hold town meeting. We know the day when the polls will be open, but we need a time for the polls. And just generally come to an agreement on how we're gonna conduct the meeting. We have a pretty extensive list of warrant articles right now, somewhere in the neighborhood of 23 or 24 warrant articles. And that includes probably the largest bond issue that we'll ever see, hopefully in our lifetime. So there's a lot of material that's gonna have to be discussed. There's 5 different ordinances that we're proposing changes on where, so there's a lot to cover. So how are we gonna do it? And what's gonna be the general flow of the meeting is why we. are
Now, we've
talking
had-
today.
We've had preliminary discussions among ourselves, the select board and Mark. Given the large number of items of business. That this may be one of those times where we have to have a more than one day set aside for the deliberative session.
Yeah.
But we can pick,
So historically, we have run the polls from 11 to 5. And then we have adjourned for some amount of time, usually a half an hour. And then started the deliberative session at 5:30. We can follow that same model. And then if you want to do just the bonded warrant articles. We could after we deal with those bonded warrant articles, there currently are 3 or 4 of those. Where there would have to be actual ballot voting
and
for an hour
An hour
and that
session.
sort of thing. We could, at the end of that, when all that voting is over, you can adjourn the meeting to a date and time certain. So it is considered all the same meeting. But you just say, okay, at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, we're gonna meet back here. And we're gonna continue the meeting with article whatever. So that is an approach. If you wanna do it that way, but I figure with the election officials, you know, you're there by 10:30 in the morning. Trying to go into 8, 9 o'clock at night is probably a very long day for you. So I'm just thinking, try to cut it at some point and just adjourn to a date and time certain.
yeah, I
If
think a
that's-
4 or 5 hour meeting is
Yeah,
really pushing the envelope.
my concern is that people will leave the meeting if
Right.
we try to push it that long.
Right.
Yeah,
But my concern also is if we do all of the bond voting.
Yeah.
They won't come to the second meeting necessarily.
Well, there's still
Especially if
the
there's 2
whole
meetings.
operating budget. There's still the entire operating budget. There's several other monetary things. You have the sanctuary group that's going to have a
Mhm.
warrant article. You have 5 ordinances that need to be
right.
amended. There's a lot of additional business to bring people back. The key is what day and what time do you want to bring them back? And I guess we don't have to, if we're gonna go that route, you don't have to make that decision right now, but it would be nice for coordination of our audio visual support and things like that for the meeting, which I think is important for any of the warrant articles. We need to know very soon to get on their schedule when you think you're gonna adjourn it to.
Have you discussed having the town election and then having the entire meeting at another?
You can do that as well. Again, that's just adjourning to. But then you're still talking about potentially a 4, 5, 6 hour really long meeting. Because of everything that's on the warrant. It's just everything's hitting us in the same year. So. What do you think, Patty?
Do we expect that this is special for this year, or do we think from now on we're gonna have?
No, this is special for this year. It better be special. for
Fingers
this
crossed.
year.
Yeah. In terms of the
Getting too old
length,
for this stuff.
right, in terms of the length and the number of things we have to.
Yeah,
Have
for
to
the
go-
length
right.
and, yeah, we just have reviewed ordinances and there have been questions that have come up and we're just trying to take care. You've got the community power question that's on there.
I think I have a
that
list of
sort
like
thing is 23.
23, 24 topics,
So,
many of them warrants
yeah,
that. We'll have to, motor through.
A lot of it,
Mhm.
I think the hardest part is on the supervisors of the checklist, because you're there the whole time.
Well,
The ballot clerks, I can have, ship in shifts, so they're easy.
well, and they're just for the town election. We don't need them. Do we use them last?
Well, you're gonna need them
For
for
the
the
bond
bond,
votes.
for the bond
Oh,
votes,
for the,
yeah.
yeah, for the bond issues we did last year. Okay.
And then if anyone requests a secret ballot, you should have at least a couple of them available.
Yeah.
They're easy, I can do in shifts. The supervisors, there's 3 of you.
Yeah.
So a lot of it falls.
Well, and it's, I don't think it's that much of a problem. I mean, we're sort of used to. I usually stay for the entire part, and the other 2, if they want to take breaks or have some other thing, as long as we have 2 out of the 3 there in a quorum, because we're in session during the election. I'm not certain that we're in session during the town meeting. I'll have to-
Yes, you are, because you have to check in the voters. You have to check them in,
Yeah,
so,
but I don't, well, that's true, we have to do that, but I'm not sure that the supervisors themselves are actually in session.
well,
but
you
I'll
have to check with
that. I
the
can't
Secretary of
remember right
State,
now.
but I think you are. I think you can take a register.
To take them during the town meeting. I think you have to take voter registrations during the election hours. But once
And
that's
I know
over,
that,
exactly, you don't have to keep taking same day registrations, do you? You do.
Uh,
You don't.
no.
Right.
Right,
So
okay.
I'm not sure that we are.
Yeah, I think the ballot clerks need to be there. I need to have ballot clerks there.
Yeah. But, we can, I mean, but from our perspective, it's, we'll do whatever is decided as the best, that works for the system.
What does everybody think that a
Well, we already
weekday
have 2
evening?
days, right? Because we have the school the day before. Is that gonna?
That's a Monday meeting. That's a totally separate meeting,
But
so
it's the same supervisors of the checklist and ballot.
that's right,
clerks.
yes.
And we
Okay,
actually
Dave?
only need, again, because that's not an official session for us, we need 1 supervisor there to check in people.
Mhm.
We don't actually need to have 2, because.
Right, the voting is the next.
So no
For-
one can
for
show up at
ballots.
the school district meeting and become a voter,
That's correct.
Correct.
They cannot.
all right?
Yeah.
I think that's important to tell people.
We did, I think last year we specifically put it in this. I think most people, before we had so many fewer voters, that it was, they sort of knew from year to year, but.
Mhm.
we've had
Okay,
so
but I
many
think
new ones.
that's something we should be repeating
Yeah,
over and over again right
now
now.
we do, yeah.
So we'll make sure at the
notice, a public
community
notice.
meeting and
Yeah.
things like that, that it's mentioned.
So the 13th would be their
The
meeting.
13th will be the school district meeting, and that they haven't set the time yet, but that's usually 6 or 6:30, something like that.
It's-
The other thing to keep in mind with the checklist is if we adjourn the town meeting and continue it another day, it's that same checklist that we used at the first one that
Right.
is in play. No one can register in between.
Yeah, this is frozen.
Right.
Yeah,
frozen.
so they wouldn't.
Yeah, because it's a continuation of the
Yeah.
same meeting.
And that's something else we should probably note in the
They wouldn't
And
be able to.
public notices, so they understand. They have to come to the first one if they're gonna vote on the,
right.
in the second one. Second deliberative
Well,
session.
no, they could show up to the continuation, they just can't register as a new voter.
If they're a registered voter.
They can
already,
still,
Yeah,
They can skip the first one.
or vice,
Okay.
whatever, they can come to the first.
All right, I
one and not
misunderstood
come back
that.
To the second.
right, okay. Terry?
Mark, or everybody, there's a list of 24 items on this list here.
Yeah.
Warrant article list. Is that the total number of articles that'll be voted on? Both during the day and?
Well, it's a living list right now, it's gonna be somewhere around the 24.
And you think that about 4 or 5 of them are going to be a written ballot at the deliberative
Well, the
session?
first 2 or the first 3 will be definitely a written ballot with a 1 hour polling time. That's mandatory for those.
That seems pretty much the same as it usually is.
Well,
doesn't it?
except it's the topics.
You're saying long
there's
discussion.
more discussion, I think, that's gonna be.
Right, that's the other part of this that I really didn't mention. I mean, one of those is a $37 million bond issue for the wastewater treatment facility that
Yeah.
people may want to express an opinion about.
Or, and maybe the town will just say, sure, go ahead, we don't want to talk about it anymore,
Yeah.
just let's vote on it. But I'm not hedging my bets when you have things like the noise ordinance and
I think that may,
other things.
I think the noise
that are on
ordinance too.
there. I mean, you've got the the sanctuary committee petitioned warrant article, you've got community power that's gonna need to be explained to people. You got the transit system discussion, you've got, there's just a lot of stuff on there. So
Changes to solid waste too, I think.
changes to the solid waste
Waste.
system
Yeah.
and recycling. I mean, all of those things are things that we're hearing from people are important to them, so.
And that's not the extension to a second day. This is something that could be determined at that meeting. It has to be.
Well, it can be determined at that meeting,
We just want to,
but if we're gonna coordinate audio visual support and things like that. It would be a lot easier to do that if we knew that we were gonna do it.
and also, I'm sorry,
And where?
well, I was gonna say,
And
well,
where-
also, and also the place, and so we're talking potentially. 4 different events here. If you count the school district, the public voting, and then the deliberative session, and then probably another. I'm sorry, Patty, you wanted to?
Same, sorry, we're having.
No, I was saying that one of the things we should decide as well is the place. And I think as a rule, we want to have all 4 events happen at the same.
That's a
Same
lot
place if we
easier
can.
from an audio visual
Yeah.
support. Time
And set up.
and set up.
And just regular setup for everybody. And we usually want to have the voting. And the deliberative session, if they're only a half hour apart, then that place should be the same as well for the. Ballot clerks and for all the duties you have to do, Patty. Yeah, we don't want to try to truck everybody over, because a lot of people, I think, come towards the end, right? To
Right,
vote.
they vote and then
They
they
stay,
stay. for the
they
deliberative
stay and then
session.
so that should be the same place.
I mean, to Terry's point, could we? Have the second date, let's say a Saturday, the second date, the Saturday after. But decide that night how far we go down through the.
Oh, sure,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And you decide when to cut it off
yeah,
based on, how long we've been there.
how raucous the
But
crowd
we-
is
but
getting.
We know whenever it
Who's left.
gets cut off, we know it's gonna be the next Saturday or whatever we decide.
Right. I think the point here is just to make those arrangements in the event we have to. But yeah,
I mean, I'd hate to say that, we're only gonna go through the first 3 items and that we go through them like in.
Yeah,
Who knows?
In 10 minutes. And then everybody's going, well, why are we leaving so soon?
right.
no, I think we'd want to roll through as many of these as we can. And certainly look at it
Well,
at least a couple
You
hours.
already know that you're gonna have the discussion about the warrant, about
You
the
gotta give an
bond
hour,
articles,
right.
right? Then you're gonna start voting and you're gonna have to keep the polls open for an hour anyway. So you
Right.
might as well get through a few articles
Right.
if you can.
While
while you're waiting.
while you're waiting that hour, through that hour.
There's always some articles that you think are gonna be quick.
Yeah.
And, yeah,
That's right. And in the unlikely event that we get through the whole thing,
Right,
then we just cancel.
we can just cancel
Saturday
the plan
Audio visual on
for,
the following Saturday.
I think that would be a good plan.
okay, that's a good approach. Where are we gonna do?
Yeah, well, how are you gonna determine, because the location is, you guys decide.
Well, once again, I mean, we had this discussion in our joint meeting with the school board, I think it was on the 9th of November. That we would like all of this to happen at the school gymnasium. So that is the school board's preference. I mean, sorry, the select board's preference. And the deliberative sessions would be after school hours if there's a concern about safety for the pupils. It would be
Yeah, my
mitigated.
understanding Was after school hours, the school board
Right.
was fine with having anything there. It was during school hours.
Right.
They were concerned.
So we're looking at from 11 to basically 11 to 3, even though the polls are open to what, 5?
Mhm.
We're really
So we
looking,
can determine
Yeah, we don't,
Well, what's the minimum
There's
I'm
none.
not sure.
There
what-
isn't one.
There is.
for just the
The state, but for the town.
for the town, right? Yeah,
We've pretty much always done it the same, the 11 to,
it captures
well, before when we had the
people, yeah,
deliberative session in the afternoon.
yeah.
We did it differently.
But see, that's gonna drive, I think, where we have the deliberative session, because where we have the voting, I think we want to have the deliberative session in the same.
But we could do the voting earlier too. And yours a little bit. They don't mind if we have the election earlier. But we do anyway.
Well, before 8 a.m.
No,
No,
preferably not.
No, they just don't want it there during school hours.
I mean, if it's a security issue, I could have a detail officer all day there. I mean, the doors are secure,
We always
so
vote during
we want one of us there all day.
Yeah, the two things we talked about with the joint meeting was either the police have a presence there at all the time.
Yeah.
Or the school plans to have an outing and they go someplace while we're doing the.
from 11 to 3.
Police
Or a
presence
half day.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Or they work a half day, they go to school a half day.
But I mean, we could have a designated officer that I will put on duty on top of just, so Tuesdays is just me, but what I'll do is. For that event specifically, if you want, I will have another officer come in that is designated only to the school and not. Won't get pulled away for the ski area or anything else, so if that would help, I mean, it's March, we can figure that out.
Well, it'll be the school board's decision. I believe their next meeting is tomorrow.
I don't
I
know.
believe so.
Yeah, and we did discuss, we did say that we would discuss it with the moderator and then discuss it again. Or at least come to a decision.
Did I hear you say that the voting hours don't have to be from 11 to 5? We could do it
Right.
from 1 to 5, for instance?
Or we could do
Or
it 10
11
to
to 3.
or 10 to 2.
Well, I'm trying to
minimum of-
shorten the amount of time that we're impacting the school.
A minimum of 4 hours.
Yeah, I think you got a
Minimum of 4
4 hours, so if
Schools
it's
have-
so 1 to 5.
1
Yeah.
to 5.
You could do 1 to 5 and then you have 1 hour of
Right.
impact.
Yeah, and then you're after recess.
Maybe
Yeah.
the school gets out at 1 that day.
But then that starts to meet.
Yeah.
What have we done before?
I mean, I don't want to
We've done
shortchange the
11 to
voters
5.
either.
We've done
Whatever.
11 to 5.
Right.
And 5:30 deliberative session
Yeah.
is
Right.
what we have done the last 8 or 9 years.
I mean, I
You
hate to.
also-
Go ahead, Margaret.
Just a question, if we split the meeting or we're thinking about splitting the meeting and we're planning our audio visual, I assume that they're not going to take the audio visual down between the two meetings.
Right.
No, they don't have to.
No,
Yeah,
they'll leave it all up.
Well, I think the idea would be to set it up on Monday during the day so that it's available for the school
Mhm.
meeting. Leave it up and then conduct the first half of the town deliberative session on Tuesday evening. And then it'll probably come down and if we have to adjourn to another day. So we would not leave it up.
Yeah, because you have to break down all the chairs and.
Well,
whole-
the chairs would have to go, but I'm talking
Yeah.
about the
The audio,
screens
right,
and the
right.
microphones and all of that will be broken down.
What were you thinking?
Right.
Turning to the next day, the next week?
Well,
the
that's,
weekend?
I'm asking
Well,
what
that's-
the town's preference is, what your guys' preference is. Because I think you
Legally,
can,
it can't be on a Sunday.
that's all, that's
Right.
the only limitation that we have. I think there are advantages to Saturday, but I think if you do it too early, then people don't show up and. Too late, people don't, I mean, it's difficult sometimes on Saturday meetings. Although some towns do their whole deliberative session on Saturdays. Because that's what they historically have done. So they'll vote on Tuesday and that following Saturday will be their deliberative session.
What if you did it right the next night? So you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday
Yeah,
set aside.
You could do that.
Yeah,
Or
that would-
be asking people for 3 nights.
yeah,
People come in, sure they're in town for the town meeting,
right,
they probably want it to be.
sure, right away.
It could be, although you're gonna get 3 people have to commit 3 nights in a row, which could be difficult for some people. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with any other agreement,
That
any
seems
other
like
date.
that'd be the
we-
easiest from an audio visual standpoint.
Yeah, would definitely, then he could potentially leave it up.
Right.
We can work it
Mhm.
out with the school and leave it set up. It's just,
So that would impact them for another day, correct?
yes, yes. But I really think that we should.
Who's them?
The
The
school, because the
School.
school wouldn't be able to use the auditorium on Wednesday.
Monday,
Oh, I see.
well, they'd be able to use it Monday because we could set up after,
He required a lot more time than that last year.
oh yeah, he did.
You're talking a few hours,
Yes, he can't, I mean, it's possible.
Which
he
is why it
can't
works so
push
well,
this because
right.
it's the first time. So
right?
maybe now that he's done it once, he won't need. to
Yeah,
be
he
as
won't need
cautious.
as much.
But yeah, he did get it up early Monday.
He stayed over Sunday night.
Yeah, so,
I mean, on Wednesday, you could take down all the voting booths at the other end. You don't need
Yeah.
that. All you need is the seating at the front end.
right.
Yeah, and we probably can secure his stuff enough that they could use half the gym. I could see that being practical.
The second session.
But we can go to the school, the school board meeting tomorrow and ask them.
So PE is on Monday, so sometimes though, in March, they might be doing something outside. for
Right.
PE, so that's something to talk to them about, and then in March, maybe the weather be good enough to have recesses outside, if that's the only thing they use it for.
Are you, would you be satisfied with a noon to 5 polling period instead of 11
I'd be satisfied with the 1 to 5.
or 1 to 5?
But I don't want to shortchange the voters.
Yeah,
There
I
are
mean, we
people
do
who have a lunch.
We do have people that
Yeah,
work during the day and giving them the lunch break to be able to come vote.
12 to 5 is fine.
I mean, that sounds like a good compromise.
And then
With the school, that really starts to minimize the
talking
amount of time that you're talking about.
3 hours.
Say from 11 to 3, even prior, that's fine.
Right.
We'll make it work.
Yeah.
Either way.
if we do 12 to 5, most of us will be there at 11 at
Yeah.
least, between 10:30 and 11.
And then we'll provide an officer from 11
Whatever.
to 3
And
to cover.
But the overall concept is okay with the moderator, the supervisor and the town clerk about the possibility of splitting.
Patty and I were just discussing this timing on Wednesday,
Okay,
and we thought that if we get at least 2 hours in on Tuesday night, which actually 5:30 to 7:30 isn't, that's not late, could go later. That maybe we wouldn't have to start until about 4 o'clock.
Or how about 6, give people a chance to have dinner and get there if
Yeah.
for families.
I'd do the same time both nights, just
Same time
Fine.
both nights.
Mhm.
keep it simple, so. people
same
don't
time,
screw
same
up.
place,
I
yeah,
have to continue at 5 o'clock the next,
5:30.
5:30.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that
Margaret,
sounds-
you wanted to say something?
No, that's what I was gonna say. I agree. It should be the same time. So the extra night would be Wednesday and it'd be starting at 5:30.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, we'll go to the school board and see if we can secure their approval to use the gymnasium from, well, you guys will need to get in there at about 11, right?
Just set up.
To set up, and then the general public, the voters can arrive at noon and run that to 5.
And then we'll just have to talk to New Hampshire Audio Visual and make sure that if he gets in there by noon 11, when you guys arrive, that he can get everything set up for 5:30
While the voting is going
or
on.
for 6 o'clock. I'm sorry, he'll have to go in on Monday.
Yeah, Monday,
It'll already-
right,
Right.
for this,
But we'll just tell him that he can get access at noon on Monday.
If it turns out that we can have the school, the gym for whatever reason, and we need to go to the conference center, we need to make sure they have the space available for the
Nice.
three nights and days if we're gonna leave audio visual stuff out.
Well, we will need to have a contract with them and actually be a
Right.
paying customer, so.
And all of that, and there is a potential major drawback to that is if there's no generator.
They said they could get generators there if we
Okay.
required it from the mountain, that they have them and they could.
It would have to be part of the contract, I think.
Well, yeah, and I think we need to talk to the folks at the conference center because. Then we would have to determine, are we gonna use New Hampshire audio visual or are we gonna? We cannot broadcast the same way. As we can from the gym. From the conference center, we've always had problems doing that. So, and we've got some ADA.
Well, the
still
ADA
have
issue,
some ADA
yeah.
issues.
So that would have to be,
Anyway, we'll hopefully not have to cross that bridge.
I forget what they're called, the informative sessions before town meeting,
the public hearings,
public hearings.
So the public hearings we could do at the conference center if we had to.
Do those need to be videoed as well?
There's no statutory requirement to do that.
but we've done that
We
in the
have tried
past.
to do it in the past.
Didn't work very well in
but
the
it didn't
conference
work.
center, yeah.
Well, we should think about trying to do those in the same place, just to keep people from getting confused. I wouldn't want to do one at the school and then one at the
Right.
conference center and then one up at the mountain.
What's the date of that usually?
It's February.
We've got to,
February
we have
9th.
to have more than
The
one, too.
town one will be February 9th, but again, we're gonna run into the issue of, can we get through everything in one
Right,
sitting?
I think we were thinking it'd take us a couple public hearings,
I'm sorry, February 8th for the town. February 8th.
Right. but we can do that in the evening.
Yeah.
Right, 6 o'clock or something like that, so it wouldn't interfere with.
And I don't know what
schedule.
the school's schedule is.
On
That-
February 8th,
Well, no, they usually hold theirs on a Monday night. as
oh, right,
well.
you mean their public hearing?
Their public hearing.
Yeah, it'd be good to have all of this happen in the same place for the obvious reasons.
Well, and it also helps people not get confused,
Yeah,
if I'm
exactly.
going to something about town meeting, I go X.
At 5:30 on such and such a date.
At 5:30, we'll keep them on the same time.
Same time,
That's
yeah,
right. Mark.
exactly
Yeah.
right. Stick with the same time. Same time, same place,
Same back time.
same back, I was about to say, same back,
channel.
showing our age.
That's right.
So, Terry or Patty or Jean, any other comments on this? You're fine with the overall
Yep.
approach we're taking? We just need to, bless you. We just need to settle on the place. Just hold your breath. Chief.
Last
Okay.
time, yeah.
Yeah. Bob and Margaret, is there anything further you want to discuss here?
No, I'm hoping the gymnasium will work out.
I think that would
We'll
be the
check
best
tomorrow.
option.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I thought I saw John Racine here, but I was gonna ask him why, if he had anything, but I guess he's moving along. Shall we move on to ordinance language review for town meeting warrant articles?
Yeah, so you
Mhm.
have copies in the packet with
Yep.
the proposed changes highlighted. The intent here is to just get your feedback on those
Mhm.
changes. You're not approving anything yet. We will take these and we will post notices
Right,
about
move them
what
on
the
to a public,
changes.
and move them on to a
Yeah,
public hearing,
for a public
and
hearing.
folks can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking at, I think there are 5 of them, right?
There are.
3 seem to be just, technical sort of changes, updating language since.
Yeah.
It's been quite some time. A number of these have been updated and the laws have changed and standards have changed.
Yeah.
The 2, I think that we should point out to people is a change in the noise ordinance and a solid waste disposal ordinance are substantive. So I'm okay with moving it forward and letting the people, people come to a public hearing and letting us know what they think about these language changes.
I don't have any problem with the noise ordinance. Change.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying,
Just.
we don't have to prove it now. It's just,
I know, but
Yeah.
why don't we go through one at a time?
oh,
Yeah.
okay, please, go
Yeah,
ahead.
any comments on the noise ordinance change, Margaret?
No, no, I'm fine with it.
All right.
Okay.
How about the wild animal ordinance? Addition of ducks and waterfowl.
I'm good with that one too.
Yep, that's fine.
Darn ducks, yeah.
Yep,
Don't feed the ducks.
don't feed the ducks.
And
Okay.
ordinance 16 is alternative modified heating systems ordinance, and that's the technical changes, right, chief, to bring it in line with current state statute.
State
And
fire
code.
codes and,
Codes.
Okay,
That's a good thing. Yeah,
okay with that, Margaret?
Yep,
All right, and then building permits ordinance. There's a couple of changes. Do you want to highlight just generally?
Yeah, so the first, we had discussed earlier about changing the threshold of what prompts a
will
building permit.
trigger a permit, right?
What triggers a permit. So if you see on the back page, highlighted in red, it's just the our raw numbers of just the average of permit project costs
Quite a change,
that we're seeing.
double
Yeah.
over 4 years.
you
yeah,
know,
I didn't see those numbers in the distribution that I got.
They're
That's
on
what-
the last,
My questions.
they're on the last page, Margaret. The
Last
last
of
page
what?
of the building permit ordinance in your packet.
Says not
Oh,
to
okay, I got you now. Gotcha.
be, yeah,
So previously or currently it's $1,000 that triggers it. But we're looking at almost $40,000 average project
yeah.
cost this year.
Well, I'm not sure I understood what. It says an amount based on a portion of the average of permits,
Mhm.
see attached. So what portion,
So
what
we have to
portion are we
figure that out.
talking
what
about?
I want is your input based on these numbers of what you think that number should be.
Right,
Oh.
what that portion should be.
You know,
So,
based on that information.
right. And you gave us a couple examples here, what it would be at a third the cost, right?
Yep,
What it'd be a quarter of the cost.
yep.
So do
Of
we,
the average.
of the average, so do we go from 1,000 to 9,000 or 1,000 to 12,000 or any other number in between?
Yeah, and I mean, if you shoot
I mean-
10, if you shoot at 10.
What if you say 10?
I think
if you-
that's what exactly where
I
I was
would just
going.
say 10, I'd forget the portion of the thing, I just call it 10,000.
Okay,
Yeah, and I've just put
Mm-hmm.
those numbers up so we could,
Right.
I got
And
it.
10,000 there, it makes sense.
Yeah, I was thinking 10 as well. Yeah, Margaret?
Move it from 1,000 to
Yeah.
10,000.
I'm good with a 10. I also think under the examples of maintenance projects, a good one would be to include window and door replacement.
Sure.
Because that's kind of one that everybody comes to sooner or later.
and just to kind of explain a little bit for anyone who might be watching this afterwards as well. What we're discussing is we currently have a threshold of $1,000 that triggers a building permit being necessary. So we're looking at changing that threshold. Right now, excluding our new construction permits, which are huge. Our average right now for
Mhm.
a building permit is 39,719 this year, excluding new
Right.
construction.
4 years ago, it
So
was
3
19
years
and
ago, it was
change.
19,000.
And that 1,000
So-
hasn't changed since 1994.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's what they're talking about. So that's why a 1,000 to 10,000 change is not.
And then in addition to that, if you're replacing an existing driveway with a new one of the same type,
Right.
even if it's over 10,000, you still don't.
You don't get-
Right, this gets into the maintenance, the definitions, I think, that
Right.
Chief
Of
put in there.
maintenance.
And that's something we can discuss. I think Margaret was adding, wanted to get another. These are just examples. These are
Examples,
not
right.
exclusive
Right.
Correct.
of the sorts of things. I think that'd be
Just
very
examples.
helpful.
So if it's in kind, It's considered reconstruction, repair, and renovation, as long as it's in-kind work, it's not going to trigger a building permit.
Right,
Unless it's licensed work, so if you're moving any electrical, plumbing,
right.
gas.
Yeah, we always want to have a thing
you
around
need-
that.
You still need a permit, because then, once you have a permit, that prompts the inspection.
Regardless of the size of the project.
Regardless.
And we'll go into this during the public hearing in detail, but I just didn't, we were talking back and forth here and I just.
Right, we're just
To
shortening
make
it.
it
Thank you.
clear,
Yes,
a little bit clearer about what we were talking about.
right. And as always, anyone who has a question, if this is passed, they can always just check with the code enforcement officer
Yeah.
to make sure that this is an in-kind or whatever.
And we are changing it from a building, just a building
That's right.
permit. Application to a building
And
zoning
Right,
application, which means. We will be tracking closer whether or not
Right.
it's a change of use and whether or not any portions of our zoning ordinance are being.
right. That's an
treated.
important legal
Yeah.
distinction we need to add to this.
Yeah.
And in that, I broke out, pretty much everything else other than a zoning building permit for new construction. These
Mhm.
repairs, okay, any of these smaller projects that are not new construction, basically has a much more abbreviated application.
Yeah.
A little easier application to process on our end, basically.
I think that'd be helpful at both ends.
Yes, yeah, I think.
Easier to
it's
fill
better-
out and easier to
Yeah, better user experience.
adjudicate or
Yeah,
approve, right?
So
And-
how about the fee structure? Once somebody's is determined that they need a permit,
Mhm.
do we need to modify the fee structure?
We have a fee structure. I think if you go from 1,000 to 10,000, we'll just modify the current structure by times 10. And it'll give us the same breakdown. So
Okay,
if
yeah.
you're between X and Y, it's gonna be this much. And
Yeah, didn't we update the fee structure not that long ago? A few years ago, was it?
a few years ago.
Okay,
it's-
time moving.
We'll
Right,
look
but we can
at it,
relook
but
at it, Bob.
there is a way that we can,
It's separate from this ordinance, and so.
That's,
Yeah,
that's,
there's a
our-
separate list
right,
of
and that's-
fees. They're not linked to the.
Right.
ordinance.
Right.
and we can decide what those
you can
fees
decide.
are.
Okay,
mean, we can
I'm just
look
saying
at
that we might need to
Yeah.
change those.
Of
Yeah.
course, yeah, no,
Or not.
good point.
We'll definitely
Right.
need to change the low end
Yes.
for sure. But we'll figure that out.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and it might be helpful to have that at the public hearing too, so
Yeah,
people
we'll have it by the hearing.
hearing, yeah.
Sure.
We have one more on municipal solid waste disposal, I think.
I have some comments on this one.
Okay,
I don't think it says that there's any kind of a fine if somebody just dumped their garbage or their municipal solid waste somewhere in town.
It's illegal dumping.
It's
That's a
a-
state statute.
Shouldn't that be just stated in here, though? I mean, it's illegal to just dump your trash someplace. So somebody shows up and dumps their trash outside of the town office building here. Because
Political
we're only open
protest.
from six
That's
to
why,
six.
that's why we did it that way, is because
Right.
if we don't do it that way, then every single time somebody does it, then it's a misdemeanor versus a violation.
this
So
is,
if you dump it anywhere in town, it's a misdemeanor, illegal dumping, state of New Hampshire, RSA, no matter where you are. But this allows the town to do a violation level offense versus a criminal offense. That's all that this.
right. The state, it's a criminal offense,
Is a criminal.
and our ordinance will make it a municipal
Violation.
a violation of town ordinance.
Yeah.
Are you looking at something beyond what's in line 7?
Well, I'm just wondering whether you have to have a statement in there that it's illegal to dump any place in town other than
I see.
the designated places. So
You just.
So we
you
should-
You
come
wanna
on.
be careful, The only thing is you want to be careful with ordinances. You don't want to mix your state law with your ordinance law, then it kind of muddies the waters a little bit. So you have to be very careful with the language.
Okay, well, if you guys are comfortable with it,
Yeah.
I'm just.
Well, I think it's just, I think it's common knowledge that you can't just dump trash anywhere.
And
Okay,
just
so
leave
when
that
I
at
show
the
up,
state.
I show up at 7 o'clock and the area was closed at 6 and there's a fence around it or not.
Right.
And I just say, well, if it's closed, what am I gonna do? And
Yeah.
and I just leave it there by the fence.
So we could, but, so I know like the Thornton dump, all of them have gates up. And in front of the gate, it does talk about illegal dumping,
We-
that if you're trash.
And we will do that as part of the move. Okay?
Yeah.
We just, based on the administrative order and the fact that we're gonna be putting signs up that say that, you know, you do not dump between 6 PM and 6 AM. Okay? We need to change this so that the PD is not,
They would only be able to
they would
enforce state
only
law,
be able
which is
to
a
enforce
criminal,
the
which
state
would be a
law, which
criminal
would be a
offense.
criminal offense.
Cause you can't.
So
do
we're-
it, Cause if they throw it, if they throw it in them,
In the
In a
dumpster,
dumpster,
they're
it's not
not littering.
so you know what I
Right.
mean, so it's very.
Right. But you still want to keep a state level offense if you're talking about someone just dumping something out
In the forest.
in the forest or something.
Okay, so between now and the new transfer station,
Yes,
we're okay leaving it without, not in here.
yes.
And then,
Okay.
once there's the gates, you'll have a sign. that
One-
says,
Right.
If you dump it out here, it's illegal.
But we'll still have there is the additional language in here of 6 PM to 6 AM.
That's correct.
That change will occur as soon as the administrative order.
Right, so somebody shows up at 7 o'clock,
It'd be a violation. of
It'll
this.
be a violation of this ordinance and they would be fined, could be fined
Upwards of $500.
upwards of $500 in accordance with paragraph
Right.
7.
okay,
And if they violate before this is approved,
It's a misdemeanor.
it's a state
Yeah.
misdemeanor.
The
Well,
difference of them being arrested or just.
right.
Ticket.
Given a ticket, yeah, there's a bit of a difference that.
Yeah.
And well, we haven't talked about the AOC.
but the other comment I had is under 4.
Yep.
Whether or not we need to add the word renter.
You don't see guest as being
Guest.
a,
We've always treated the renters as guests.
because you can be a renter and a resident, or you can be a renter
And not a resident.
and not and a guest.
Yeah, you could, so well, if somebody's in an Airbnb,
They're a guest.
That would be four
Of the
D.
property
If
owner.
we
Okay.
usually use the
Yeah.
word guest, but if you're not happy with that, we could discuss it.
I would just add the word renter, but that's okay. You guys are all happy with it, I'm okay.
Margaret, any comments on any of the stuff we've been talking about here?
No, I'm okay with it.
We'll put it
Right.
in just.
Okay.
Then there's no question.
And again, I mean, this is going to a public hearing and then we'll still have an opportunity based on comments that are made to make changes before we actually finalize the warrant.
Yeah.
All right, so actually there are 3 that I think people want to pay attention to in particular, but the building zoning permit. I think people.
Yeah, it's a big change.
It is a little bit more than just a technical change.
Yeah.
Okay, review and accept housing grant.
So the last time we talked about this, you gave us authority to apply for the grant. We were successful in the grant. I included the notification from the end of November that we received
Mhm.
awarded the grant. So now the vote would be to accept the grant as awarded by the state of New Hampshire, which is for all 3. If you recall, there are 3 phases to the work.
It's listed right in here,
And
so I
it's
can,
listed,
and the
so-
motion can include that.
Right, so the motion would be
Right.
to accept all 3 phases and authorize us to complete the paperwork and do the project. The chair under the overall supervision, guidance, whatever of the planning board chair.
Mhm. Okay,
So-
so I guess, go ahead, Margaret.
I said, so moved.
Nope, she moved it.
All right. All in favor?
All right,
Aye. And the amount is $50,820
Yes, we'll put that in the,
in the motion as the
Yeah.
grant, so that was quite a nice. That was quite a nice pickup for the town and the planning board. Okay, the 2023 budget update, I just want, I see Dylan's here, do we just want to
yeah, go, let's,
just do the wastewater treatment project update and a transfer station project update? So
and he already told you.
about the, right, we already did the water line project update, so,
Yeah, and with the wastewater, the only thing that really the project really is that flow monitoring from the main line coming down from the mountain. That's the only thing really pertaining to it on the horizon. Other than that.
we're still on the flight path, glide path, whatever you want to call it, path
Yeah,
for the 90% solution.
Yep.
By February, was it,
yes.
based on our approval?
Yeah,
A
and.
couple
yeah,
meetings ago.
I don't recall, it might have been between the moving, but we had just the surveyors fly all from here in Back Lane up to the base lodge.
Mhm.
Hit the elevations, and really a
Right.
overview of the right of way that we
Right.
could be looking at in case we do have to do something with that line from the base lodge, so that.
And what we're talking about is that the town already services the resort, the base lodge, and this is getting a handle on the changes that will need to be made so that it can be connected to our new wastewater treatment facility. And maybe something, and just to reiterate, Mark, this is something I think you probably be talking about tomorrow.
Sure.
Tomorrow,
We
if
can-
any questions, just so,
Yep.
right, the town owns the line, I think is the bottom line.
Mhm.
That runs between the resort
The
area,
base lodge.
the base
and
lodge
treatment.
and the treatment plant, so we are responsible for any of the updates and changes, renovations, new construction that's involved with getting the sewage from the base lodge area to the new facility. So that's tomorrow again, so everyone's got it tomorrow at 6 p.m. here. And it will be also on the town YouTube feed.
Mark, are you interested in sharing the presentation quickly?
Do you have it?
Yeah, that, and then we have an example of the signage that we're gonna be installing down at the
Transfer station. So let's do the treatment plant real quick for slides. Do you need rec or public
No,
safety
no,
anymore?
if you guys are,
You guys can stay for any budget. We're not gonna go over line by line tonight. There were some questions about water and sewer bills. And other questions
CIP.
about some CIP stuff with the vehicles.
right,
But if you, there's nothing related to rec that
Okay,
we have in here.
okay, thank you.
You can go.
We're gonna cover the
We're gonna,
you have a non-public item?
yeah, we've got personnel in non-public if you want to stay for that.
I'm here because I gotta do Santa Claus. It's just
I have a quick question on the wastewater
Patty,
Yeah.
treatment project. I know we've been having trouble filling open positions. Is that still an issue?
We filled a part-time position 3 days a week.
Yeah.
With a very seasoned and experienced candidate.
Oh, good.
So hopefully that'll fill majority of our need. We're still trying to hire a drinking water slash wastewater, more of an entry-level position, but it's not as dire as it was.
Okay.
So might be on the tunnel on that one at least.
But we will, I mean, it's a great fix, thanks to Dylan and his dad, Richard, that we're able to get this person to come work part-time for us. So that we're back up to 3 people in waste, but we still will need 4.
Yeah.
When the new plant comes online, 4 full-time, right?
Um,
Or 3
Hopefully we can get by with 3 full-time.
3
maybe a
full-time
part-time.
and a part-timer.
Yeah.
So at some point, we're gonna have to get another full-time body.
Other towns
towns have the same problem.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
every,
yeah.
Is there anything like you saying you share with other towns, so when you're busy, they,
now, is it actually the state statute that prevents that from happening?
Really?
Yeah, they don't want Operation Double Dip.
okay,
Because what happens if there's a crisis at both facilities, then it's like. well,
Which one do you go? Who pays me more?
Yeah.
A lot of towns contract, as I've come to learn, contract out. And you end up paying a lot more money and you don't get the investment and care that you get when you have your own town employees looking after things.
All right, so Margaret, can you see the slide?
Yes, and
Okay.
Yep.
So my plan for this, as I think I've said before, is to keep it simple, relatively simple. We're gonna, if you go to the next slide. I plan on providing an update on the plant design process, going through the history of our treatment plant, current plant, and why we need the new plant with the new permit requirements. And then talk about the state design process with the 30, 60, 90 design phase. And then talk about engineering and how that has progressed through the process. And then go over a general outline of the planned schedule, the way that we see it right now. And then talk in a little bit of detail about the project financing, what we already have authorized and what we're looking at getting authorized. And then once we complete town meeting in March, how that financing is going to progress throughout the project. And then we're going to review the new project website, which is up and running, Waterville Valley WWTF.com. All one word. And
Say that again.
Waterville Valley WWTF.com. This is a website that is dedicated to the project. We're going to use it as a communications vehicle, and there's a place on there to ask questions as they come up. And here's a picture of the website homepage. And so I'll go through that quickly, and then the final piece of the presentation will be question and answer period. So maybe an hour or so, depending on how people are interested or not. And
This is just an information
just an
session, not the
information
public
session,
hearing.
not a public hearing.
We'll have
It's,
that later.
I'd like to do it tomorrow or Thursday, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, and then maybe a couple of times in January prior to the public hearing on the budget and the bond issues. So Dylan's gonna be there with me, Steve will be there with me. Maybe, we'll see. So we'll see who shows up, and we'll videotape it and
Hopefully it's not just us.
record it. Hopefully it's not just us. I can drone on for a few minutes and we'll post whatever we do cover.
You may get people on the stream on the YouTube
Yeah, you may,
screen.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
but those slides are just what
we'll be talking about.
I'll be talking about.
Great. All right, and transfer station project update.
Yeah, so we have another PDF. I just wanted to show you the signs
I think you gave
that
us,
we are.
the signs, right? Yeah, sorry. I was looking at the diagram, I think that you sent along.
There you go, there you go. So, yeah, this is the copy of the slot of the sign that we're having made. That'll be at either end of the area down here. And this will be posted probably by the end of the week. It's gonna be ready, right?
Picking up the signs tonight.
Okay, good. We'll pick them up and we'll get this posted. It does note that the hours of operation are 6 to 6 AM to 6 PM. We also will post this at on the town website, and we'll continue to publicize it. Community meeting and that sort of thing.
How are you gonna, on either end, you said you're gonna have them?
Yeah, there'll be one facing in this direction towards town hall. There'll be one on the other end facing the road.
And the context for anybody listening to this now or later is that the state is requiring us to limit the hours of our central transfer station here for household waste to 6 AM to between 6 AM and 6 PM. It won't be gated. It won't be manned. Those will happen when we move the transfer facility next year.
Up to the
Right.
site.
But
We're
they're,
bringing ourselves in line with what the rest of the state does.
That's correct.
we were the only ones. who-
We were the only ones.
The scofflaws.
Yes, we were the only town out of 253 that was operating
Right.
a 24-hour transfer station.
Man,
Unmanned.
Yeah. Yeah. So
There
the-
isn't any mention of the fine.
No, not on this, Margaret. Mainly because we need to get the vote taken.
We do have
Because
signs up for a fine now already, right?
we do, we'll modify those signs as we go.
Okay,
Cause we've gotta make other sign changes down there.
okay,
Once we get these signs up and. This meets the requirements of the AOC. We'll make other.
Okay.
To the signage down there as we go through the year.
Now, the town will be signing this soon, so this is coming to a town near you.
How big are these signs?
What size are they? I don't remember.
I mean, are they pretty good size? or
Yeah,
they-
they're,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yes.
And while we're on this topic, the drop off point for other than household waste that we have down by the dumpsters, that will be closed.
the red house.
The little red house, the
Little
treasure
red
hut.
house, yes, I
Whatever.
need to work with Jim.
Yeah.
For,
That's,
yes, we've got to look at the state regulations and we need to minimize that drop off.
yeah, I think they told us that we can't.
We were, yes, because that is not in compliance with.
Right.
state-
So light bulbs and batteries,
Well,
those are
that,
the primary things that people leave in there.
yes, Margaret, and we're gonna have to work with DES on that. Because of the lack of banning. Down there. And figure out what they're going to allow us to continue to do until we get to the new.
I mean, the fear, I
Facility.
think, is that all that stuff will end up in the dumpsters.
Well, that's right, and that's what we
Somebody's-
don't want to have.
Yeah,
happen,
somebody's old
so,
video equipment. and-
Yeah.
Well, and TVs, the mattresses, the tires, the
yes,
couches.
Again, I have not, Jim's been out sick, I've been out sick, so.
Right.
We need to figure out exactly what that's gonna look like down there. We will,
But potentially it's gonna move up to
potentially, it's gonna move up to
the,
up above to the enclosed portion of the transfer station, but we gotta figure out practically how that'll work.
yeah, I don't think the state's given us much leeway here at all.
No,
unfortunately.
unfortunately, the
It's 30
30 by 40. So they're big.
You mentioned AOC, what's AOC?
Administrative order by consent. Which means it's an order that the state laid out exactly what we have to do, and gave us deadlines. And we accepted that in lieu of being fined for doing it improperly all these. years.
Consent means you have to agree.
You have to.
We have to, we agree,
that we were
right.
Doing it wrong and we will
Right.
fix it.
right?
So,
And if we don't, there are penalties.
and there are penalties.
And it's not just this, but it encompasses the whole new,
Solid waste.
the solid waste and the new transfer facility. And this is the best agreement we were able to get. We couldn't avoid this
They
change
wanted
down
us to
there.
make changes like right now.
Oh, they gave us like 30 days and then closed
We
and
bought a
man,
year.
we
Yeah.
bought exactly. And with this modification, unfortunately. So we didn't,
Unfortunately, when we signed the AOC,
Right.
it means that we will abide by the deadlines. And we recognize those
Right.
deadlines. So that's.
Right.
That's the trade-off, right? They gave us an extra year. But now we have solid
Right.
deadlines that we must.
and we have to abide by them, enforce them, whatever.
So
Okay,
anyway,
all right.
I think, I don't have the actual, what I put in your
Mhm.
packets for the plan. That's a 75% plan right now.
You're talking about the interim
Uh,
transfer
the
facility,
New
right?
transfer station.
For next fall.
above For next fall.
Right.
What I didn't understand on it, there was nothing really labeled other than from an engineering standpoint.
That's right. So basically, this is the general outline and all of the drainage structures that will have to be built as part of the.
But
new-
it didn't show where the house would be.
That's the next step.
Okay.
That's the 90%
Maybe
plan.
all
So,
the fine details will come in the 90%.
Okay,
and we'll have electrical,
Yeah.
we'll have water sewer connections, all of that.
Yeah, all
So
the
they're working on, the engineers are working on that right now.
okay.
So then the plan
Well,
is. Go
So
ahead,
Mark, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Mark, the part marked access drive, is that off of Tecumseh Road?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, off of Tecumseh Road, yes.
Okay, and then what is the little thing off to the left once you get
Yeah,
in that
that's-
exit?
That
That's for
spur
Lambert.
is the new access driveway for Valley Property Management.
I got you.
So Will's going to discontinue
Oh,
his current entrance onto Tecumseh Road. And there'll be a shared entrance for his facility and the transfer.
so the gate
station.
will be after that.
The gate will be after that intersection.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wondered what that was.
And I actually had a chance this morning to sit down with Will
Oh,
and
good.
showed him the plan. His initial reaction was, looks good.
Right.
He was taking it back and he's gonna look at it
Okay,
on the
great.
ground and.
Great,
you know,
because
make
this
sure that he
involves a
doesn't-
lot line adjustment.
And there is a
Right.
lot line adjustment between the town and Valley Run Property Management.
Yeah, and Mark, is the pond, is that the sludge drying pond?
No, that is a drainage pond, Margaret, because all of the area inside the gray boundary is
Yep.
all pavement. It's all pavement. So there'll be
Okay.
quite a bit of runoff of that. So we needed to build a drainage retention pond.
Like you see around highway interchanges.
Okay.
Yeah,
I see. And the plan is to start constructing this?
well, we're going to get the finalized plan approved by DES and get it out to bid before the end of February. We'll have a contractor lined up and then it'll be weather dependent.
Right, And we
but
have a date.
April, May,
right.
June.
And this
somewhere
has to be up and running by
It has to
1
be,
December
December.
of 2023.
yeah, but we want the paving to be done by October.
Oh, yeah.
So we hope we'll have it even before Thanksgiving. That would be our goal.
This is all part of that AOC as well.
Yeah.
Okay, Um,
But the DES has approved the drainage structures that are shown on that plan.
Great. Permit, wetlands and all that.
And the wetlands permit is in process, but the Wetlands Bureau is okay. This actually has modified drainage. So, but the Wetlands Bureau has approved.
Okay.
Of land.
Any further questions, Margaret or Bob?
No,
No,
Okay, so I think if I've been keeping track correctly. What we have left for business is the 2023 budget update.
Yeah, so I have two sheets in here. Well, two pieces of information that we discussed last time. There was a question about the impact if we changed the water sewer rates. And what property, what type by property type, what the potential impact is, because if we increase water and sewer rates, we would have additional revenue and the tax rate would go down by the same amount, right? Because we use a tax subsidy, so whatever we don't collect in water and sewer rates are paid by taxes. So what we calculated here from our conversations during the budget meetings was a tax impact of 25 cents per thousand would equate to a 15% increase in the utility bill. So this shows, this is just 10 representative parcels, single family homes, different types of condos, different locations in town. And basically the bottom line difference is the far right column shows either a reduction in the overall costs or a very slight increase in the overall costs.
so it doesn't impact anybody substantially.
No. And, I did others, but they kept coming out basically the same as these examples, so.
So the last column, we have a difference, say 29, that's a quarter. A difference of $29
$29 for the year.
for the year. Okay,
Yes.
it will cost them
Year.
20.
Yeah, that's
Right.
that's annualized.
Okay, got it. It'd be an increase to the user of $29 for that year.
Correct. Some users see a reduction
Some-
of
some-
$46 or
Right,
$131. And some see increases of $28, $9. So it was not
right,
very large amounts of money either way on any of the properties
Right.
that I did this with.
And we're just talking residential.
And we're just talking residential at this time. I will do the same exercise with commercials. And then we can make a decision on what to do with the commercials.
so I guess the question to us is, do we want to move forward with a 15% increase
On the residential.
on the residentials?
Given this information, or do you need other information before?
I'm good with it.
I'm good with it.
Okay, I am as well.
Okay, so we'll start to calculate that into the revenues side. And then I'll do this for the January 4th meeting on the commercials.
We might just say that we're one of the lowest
Well, the
Yeah,
reason
so-
why,
rates in the
right,
entire state.
right,
Right, so, and yes, and this is an effort. We do have the lowest water and sewer rates in the state of New Hampshire, so. There was a time when there was a tax benefit to pay for everything through the property taxes. That benefit has dried up with federal law changes. So now we're looking at, because we, part of the grading and our meeting criteria so that we qualify for grant monies is tied to the water sewer rates. So if we increase the water sewer rates, then we can lower, there's a lesser impact on the tax subsidy. So we're just looking at making sure there's no property type or whatever that would be adversely affected. And right now we're seeing very minimal differences. So whether
This-
you're paying. for
Mark,
water,
this is
sewer-
all, this is also part of a continuing effort to have our municipal solid waste fees cover the actual costs of municipal solid waste disposal.
Yeah, we're doing the same thing on the solid waste side, but this specifically was water sewer.
Ah, okay.
And moving it away
So
from
We're moving it
tax
away
subsidy,
from tax
where you
subsidy.
would pay
to-
for it
to
versus a
fee,
user fee, where you would pay
Yeah.
for it. And we're not
And-
seeing a tremendous difference in,
No, and
That's-
and by
that's the
but by
exercise here.
doing this, if we can get our rates up, then we could potentially qualify for more
grant money.
grant money or loan forgiveness or whatever.
all that.
Right now, we're scoring very low when compared with other towns.
Yeah, and I just feel like, wow, this is going to be a multi-year.
Yeah, multi-year thing.
Process,
Yeah.
just because we're so low.
Yeah.
Compared to.
Right.
Towns that are.
Yeah, well, we've been doing it for a couple of years already.
And that's fair. It's
Right.
just- That's an example, Plymouth, for example, that the rates in Plymouth are astronomical compared to.
Compared to ours.
Yeah,
Right.
Our annual, what people pay annually here is like a quarterly bill in Plymouth.
And the same thing, you go to any other big.
Right.
Bigger system,
Again, because they were paying for it through the taxes
right?
as opposed to a user fee, which is where you want to be for the grant monies and whatnot. So the first bill people will see this in will be April, right, for first quarter.
Yes, I mean, if we need to have a public hearing on,
Right,
to do this, we need to post a public hearing.
right,
Say we're gonna increase by 15%. Take input and go from there.
right.
But yes, we can implement it for January 1. And the first bill would be in April.
In April, okay. All right, that was one part of our budget.
And then
Discussion.
the other thing was the vehicle capital financing. Whether or not we wanted to combine them into a single bond issue. And what the terms of that might be. And then Bob had asked what the current capital improvement plan numbers were, and also asked what if we just paid cash for everything in the years that were shown. And this is a 2023 to 2025 portion of the CIP, vehicles only. The bottom line, Bob, is there's not a whole lot of difference in any of them. So if you look at the bottom right box where it says total tax rate impact. If we do a $1.4 million bond issue, pay for it over 5 years. With the authorization in March of 23 and the first payment during fiscal year 2024. The total tax rate impact of that is $3.22. Okay. So
How does that compare with the
Within the
64,
7-year
the 64 cents they had up above?
the 64 cents, which one? Oh, well, no, actually what that is it's the 64 cents all.
Oh, I
5
see,
years,
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
That
Okay.
equals the 322. And then 7 years, you add the 48 cents for the 7 years. That's the 339. Okay. And then under the current plan, which is I took each year, 2023, 2024, 2025, and did our regular financing where we bond the larger vehicles and pay for cash, pay for the smaller ones with cash. The impact of that over a 5-year period is $3.12. Over 7 years, it's $3.26. Again, it's very similar to doing the combined plan and buying it in 1 year. Okay, the real savings is your approach, Bob, which was just pay all cash each year, then you save the interest cost. And so the overall tax rate impact of doing that, those 3 years, just paying for it in 1 year is $2.79. So that equates to the interest cost of doing the borrowing the other 2 ways.
And the
So-
whole purpose of this exercise is to shift as much of this tax burden
And
forward before the wastewater treatment facility tax burden hits in 2027.
20, yes, actually. We'll close the loan in 27. I put it out to 28.
Right,
So the first payment in year 28. Would be. That's why this is gray. So
Mhm.
you would add 48 cents. Under the combined 7-year plan.
right.
You'd add 48 cents for 3 years while you're paying back the wastewater treatment plant.
Which we're thinking can be
You're-
between $2 and $3.
Between $2 and $3
$3
right now if
But who-
nothing
right,
changes.
right.
So. Again, the only plan that doesn't have some impact. On after the wastewater treatment plant is in place is the paying for cash each year. So I really, if you don't want to do a combined bond issue and just keep it in the CIP the way it is. And then making a decision year to year, whether we pay cash or whether we bond the big trucks and that sort of thing. It really is the same
Comes out the
either
same.
way, comes out
So
virtually.
what's,
the
so
same.
what's your conclusion?
This, a 5-year note of the 1.4 million. Just combine it all together, get them done in 1 year and borrow the money and start paying it back in 2024 for a 5-year time period is it has 64 cents impact the first year of the wastewater treatment plant. And then we're done. with
But
it.
that's the last year of
And
that,
that's the last year
of
of
the
the
5,
impact.
right.
Or if we see that, because this doesn't, Bob, your other concern was the other projects, right?
Right.
The Corcoran Pond Dam
Right,
or whatever.
right,
The other thing we could do is just take a normal bond issue, right? So instead of trying to cram it all in before, just take a 10-year note, take a, if 15-year, whatever, however we want to finance it, because it really is 6 of one or half dozen
Yeah.
of another. It's
I
no
guess-
difference.
one of my concerns was if we move the items up front.
Mhm.
That psychologically, we're gonna think we have more money to spend
Mhm.
in subsequent years, and we're gonna say, hey, why don't we buy this? Because
We can.
we can, and because we've already committed to these other things. Whereas if you take them year by year as they're currently planned, we're less likely to do that in my psychologically, in my mind.
And so, if we keep them in the 10-year, 15-year range, they're gonna have smaller impacts. And yes, we will be paying for them at the same time we're paying for the wastewater treatment plant. But it really is not
Yeah.
it's not a meaningful difference, I guess, is what I learned in this
No.
process.
And can those rates be variable, Mark?
What do you mean?
And, all right.
Oh, yeah, if like a fire truck, we know that a fire truck's gonna last 20 years. We wanna have the least impact and we don't mind paying a little bit of extra interest.
We can refinance.
We can do it for 20 years
Yeah.
or 15. And the other thing was we just did a bond issue at the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank. And interest rates were in the 4.25% range. So they're substantially higher than they have been, but they're still not onerous. So
Well, the other thing, the trend seems to be coming down at the moment.
at the moment, yeah, I mean, who knows what.
Fed raised the
what
rate
Fed's gonna-
today.
that it was a half, so at least it wasn't 3/4, so.
Yeah, and I saw the CPI from last year to this year, now is 7.1.
Yeah.
I saw it last night,
Mhm.
down from 7.7 last month.
So,
Or what years?
Yeah.
What years does all business cover for vehicles? Is this from this year out till 26?
this particular discussion was only till 25. But again, it didn't include any of the facilities, it didn't include any of the.
Yeah.
Any of the other stuff in the CIP.
Yeah,
So, what it will mean for 2023 is 154,000. In cash, but that's already in the increase that we have, that we've been looking at,
Mhm.
that's already figured in.
okay,
Yeah, and that's,
Well, that's changing, so.
Yeah.
We're working on that.
okay, okay.
I mean,
Discussion?
my biggest thing is to try to stay on this schedule as closely as we can, because. Like, especially with the vehicles. With like engine 2 or whatever, I would rather not get into the same situation that we ran into with the ladder truck. Where we hesitated, and then we ended up with an emergency.
so how old is engine 2?
Engine 2 is a 2000.
99, it's a 1999.
99.
So. That's why it's in the plan for next year. It was
25
used
years.
when we bought it. And it's 25 years, so,
It'll be a 25-year life.
Yeah.
lifespan.
so that was. And then the ambulance, the same thing.
Yeah, the ambulances are basically a 10-year vehicle and.
2014.
Will be, yeah,
It's a 2014, so that's why it's in 24.
yeah.
So as long as I think as long as we stay on those schedules, we take it for a reasonable amount of time. We'll adjust each year and make decisions each year based on how long we want to take the funding for. And we'll look at what's happening with interest rates.
I mean, my discussion about the CIP was. That I've never had. Any knowledge about how input got into the CIP. But my sense is that. Something gets put in like a new recreation center, let's say.
Mhm.
So in 2010, somebody says, hey, boy, it'd be nice to, about 10 years from now, it'd be nice to have a new recreation center. And everybody says, well, let's put it in, we'll figure it out at the time.
Mhm.
And then year by year goes by, and all of a sudden it's upon us, and we say, well, wait a minute, I mean, it's I think we have to distinguish between things that are nice to have, things that are absolutely necessary to have, and how you relate cost on the tax rate and other things we're doing to what's in the CIP and what's nice to have. So I'm not sure, I guess I'm just not knowledgeable about how the finances and the tax rate gets included in the discussion about the CIP items as they move from 10 years down the road to, hey, next year we got to do whatever it is. And so I guess I'd just like to better understand that process so that something that's nice to have 10 years out doesn't come on and bite us in a way that we can't afford today.
Well,
I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly.
No,
but
I understand what you're saying, and the bottom line is the select board always has taken whatever the planning board has presented as the capital improvements program. And then they have looked at the current fiscal year
All right,
and said, that's the capital improvements projects that we're going to either do or not do. We can either afford to bond this or we can't.
right,
And then that discussion happens, but the plan is put together based on the department head's input to the planning board. They look at the master plan. They say, these are things that we think are important. And
There is a
They-
CIP
there is-
subcommittee
that's
that
right.
meets
we're
regularly.
we're gonna sit down with Bill
Right.
and Rob.
It may be
to
helpful if you,
discuss that.
Yeah,
if
I'd like
you,
to-
you
Yeah,
attend,
we're
see
gonna-
how they do that.
Yeah. And then we're gonna go through with the department heads. Here's what the plan is right now. And then there'll be a column that is for 23. And the select board says, yes, include
Yeah,
that.
we always have the power to
Yeah.
decide whether or not to go forward with the CIP
Yep.
recommendation,
Mark.
really.
Mark.
Yeah.
Haven't we also in the past sometimes given the planning board, it's not a budget, but it's kind of a challenge to affect our budget no more than X% or something like that?
Yeah,
Haven't we
we-
done that in the past?
We have, it's just difficult because right now it's difficult because of the changing interest rate.
Right.
You know, that was pretty easy to do when you had 10 years of 1%. Fed rates and things like that. So, and, you know, we have made changes. And we have
Mhm.
delayed things. You know, the currently in the plan right now, the town hall improvements. That's been in there since 2006. We've had a number in there and it actually isn't coming forward, it's going back. So we've just said, no, we don't want to take that on right now, put it in the next year. And that's what we did with the ladder truck. The ladder truck moved five years in a row, it got bumped. So,
And for background, I mean, the process is regulated by the state. It's in state statute that the planning board is responsible for the capital improvement program
to develop the.
to develop the improvement and provide their recommendations to the select board.
And really, the CIP is there so that if there's a developer who comes into town and says, I wanna build a new development. The town can say, okay, but if you look at our master plan and you look at our capital program, we're gonna have to take this project in the CIP and we're gonna have to move it forward. And you can actually ask them to participate in that as an impact cost, you know, doing business, right? So that's the other reason.
Yeah, I think you
why-
had mentioned, for example,
we-
dredging tie with a construction of a new,
Well,
potential
yeah,
construction of a new hotel.
right, or like a water and sewer line project.
Right.
That's in there, that maybe someone wants to develop an area sooner than we were planning.
Yeah.
So maybe it gets moved from year 7 down to year 3. Or something like that, and then in order to do that. You can ask that developer to share in that cost of moving it down.
It's not only benefiting the town at that point, it's aiding their.
It's aiding their development, so.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever run into in communities, so. But anyway, the bottom line of this exercise was there was not a whole lot of difference in whatever approach we took, so.
okay,
So we'll leave it the way it is
okay.
and we'll do the bonding year by year. And
Should we be
Discuss
looking at,
future.
you know, like we got a police cruiser coming this year and we got another one on the agenda for next year and we
Yeah.
have a town vehicle.
yeah, I took that out.
Should we be, I mean, are we happy we're getting SUVs for the police, right?
Mhm.
I don't know what we're gonna do for the town vehicle, but
I think.
You
Mark
know, should we be
took it
looking
out.
at, as a town, should we be looking at hybrids, should we?
We do that.
Should we have any kind of a
The
discussion?
department heads are, I mean, if you have a question for Dave or Patrick, we're doing that.
Okay,
But like the town vehicle, when you look at the overall impact on the budget, we'll just do away with that for right now, and we'll continue to pay people mileage and, you know, because that's what we can afford to do right now.
Okay.
I mean, the plan can be modified a whole bunch of different ways. But yeah, the cruiser, we have historically looked at the state bid process.
Process, and we get 3 different quotes from different dealers,
Yeah.
you know, and different models, and then try to figure out what's the best one.
The problem that we're facing now is that those options that used to be out there for us, where we could go to 3 different makers and get 3 different bids or use the state bid. State doesn't even have a bid
Mhm.
right now. It's basically you go out and find
You can find who can get.
a
you
dealer
vehicle right
who can
now,
get you a
because Some
vehicle.
of them, you're
Yeah.
not even taking delivery for 18 months.
well,
you know,
So-
So.
And right here, we're talking about vehicles. I mean, there'll be other warrant articles for other elements on the capital.
Yeah.
Improvement, like the road.
Yeah, and we're
repaving project,
looking at
which is the big one,
the repair accounts and things like that, and just
right?
we're trying to consolidate, we're trying to put as much into in the case of the wastewater treatment plant, we're trying to put as much into the plant as we can. So that we don't have to fund repair accounts. Additional accounts in addition to the money we've already appropriated, so. There's still a lot of changes. To go with it.
Okay, so just leave it as is then.
Yeah,
Margaret,
let's-
did you have any comment?
No, I think leave it as is. I just think there are too many volatile factors going on right now. And we can afford to wait another year and see what it brings. And then make our decisions. Are we still looking at buy the vehicle and as opposed to leasing it? Are leasing options off the table right now?
Well, leasing options are gonna be at least 6 to 7% minimum. So the question is, right now, we have it in there as a single lump sum
Cash,
cash item.
the
And
cruiser,
that's what equates to the $154,000,
right,
right? So right now, I'd recommend not doing the lease, just pay for it.
Right. Okay, just one clarification.
Yeah,
okay. So I think if we have no more discussion or comments on the budget update. Let's go ahead and move on to, and we'll do the non-public, we can do the personnel side of it.
yeah.
Let's move to board concerns
Well,
and,
in the packet, there was something about the bus agreement.
Well, I just had given
Shouldn't the amount in there be the 61 versus the 59,000?
it will be 61,103.
Okay,
We
okay, 'cause
made that change.
okay,
yeah, that was under.
The
I think-
59 was this year.
yeah, I know,
We're gonna pay him the balance.
but that's what it's in the proposed agreement, it says 59.
Oh, yes, we gotta change exhibit B
Yeah,
to
okay,
reflect the 61,000, but exhibit B is really up to Tim sending us exhibit B.
okay,
And I don't know, I forgot to ask Brooke what the WVRA voted on today, but
Right.
I'm assuming they went with the 61,
Mhm.
103 like we have.
Yeah, we had already agreed, I think, to going forward that way, yes, right. And it's just, you were just relaying us the correspondence that we have gotten
Right.
from the resort.
Yep.
Okay, so we don't have to talk about that then under correspondence. You good with that? Okay, so board concerns and directives.
No,
Nothing
I
for
have
me,
one. Go ahead, Margaret.
nothing for me.
Nothing. The one I have is, have we heard anything about winter lights yet?
I
Okay,
have not. Nothing about the bridge or
the
anything.
beach or any, the town,
beach.
I'm not talking about the town property,
I have not
portion
heard
of it.
anything yet.
right,
No, I've asked,
right.
so
Okay, because we went ahead and just accepted the use of the arena as it is now.
yeah,
Not quite sure how,
I still have not identified who did it.
who did it, but
They had a third party company come in. and do
Yeah,
what
but
they do.
was it the arena that did it, or
Who
was it
approved
town
it?
square, or was it
Sean,
Sean or?
oh, in the past, there was the ice arena, the bridge and the beach
And the beach,
that were
yeah.
required, folks to come to us and ask about the winter
I
lights.
don't know.
So
That's all I had. Okay,
We'll
just wanted to get,
continue to try to find out
well,
who that was.
very good.
It does look. like-
No, I think it looks fine. I just don't recall voting on it, that's all. Yes, we did not vote on it. Okay. If there's nothing else,
we got
Margaret,
the
Bob?
correspondence,
we could do, which correspondences? We got more correspondence?
electric company.
The electric
do-
company,
do we
I
want-
just put it.
The one you just
down.
gave us? Do
Yeah,
we want to
but-
do that in non-public or do we
No.
want to do that here? Okay,
I think it's just the notice I sent to you separate, Margaret.
Yeah,
The
I-
notice from BG Fraser at New Hampshire Electric Co-op, just notifying the town that trees on the section of Upper Boulder Path Road have grown too close to the overhead electrical lines, and the electric co-op is gonna come in and cut the trees back. I imagine most of them will have to come out.
I
because
think
they're
that's what they
pretty-
mean,
They're
right?
pretty
They're gonna-
close.
yeah,
It's
take
pretty
them
tight
down.
in there, so, but that's up to the co-op coordinating with the affected landowners. And so they're
Just giving us a
just
heads
giving
up.
us a heads
So
up.
we expect they're
And-
gonna contact the
Yeah, they have to,
landowners.
they'll work it out with the landowner. Yeah.
Okay.
The issue is, the Wymans.
Right.
We've approached them over and over again. And they just have refused both the town, well, their neighbors have contacted them. They've refused them, they've refused the co-op. So there's no actions that the town or the co-op can take to put the lines in.
To bury the lines
to
under
bury
their
the
property.
lines
That-
Under their
that's the
property
issue.
without their permission.
They're not giving anybody permission to run the lines under their property.
That's correct.
And that is the only part of town, I think, right, where
It
the
is.
lines are
It's the
above,
only part of town.
right? And so what we have here is New Hampshire Electric Co-op saying they're gonna have to take down trees to
maintain
maintain
those
those lines, without being able to go underground. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, anything else? Okay, so I'd like to move to go into non-public on the basis that we're going to be discussing personnel issues. So,
Okay.
thank you, everybody. If anyone's still here and listening. And Sharon, just let us know when we're good to